Chapter 982, Special Medicinal Pills. Bloodletting can only remove the toxins from the patient's blood for a while, but not the root cause. Once the patient is exposed to the sun, something in his body will convert into toxin again. The disease will only be more serious than the previous one. In fact, patients with porphyria, which was vampire disease, did not just have problem in their blood. It was even more because an element called porphyrin in their body would be converted into a toxin called botulinum toxin when exposed to ultraviolet light. So, He smiled and looked at Lu Jishi with scorching eyes. Fairy Jishi, you have diagnosed the wrong direction from the beginning. You know that the problem comes from blood, but have you ever wondered what its source is? The most important treatment for vampire disease is not to exchange blood, but to eradicate the source of the young city lord's disease that will turn into toxins when exposed to sunlight. Lu Jishi originally wanted to laugh. How can there be such a disease in the world? Whenever it is exposed to the sun, it will be converted into toxins in the blood. Not to mention even her father Lu Xiang had never heard of it. She opened her mouth slightly, but the words were stuck in her throat. Because she met Shi Yu's calm, wise, and arrogant eyes. Those eyes were supported by an incomparable strong self-confidence. Lu Jishi had only seen this look from her father. Even she was often not confident in her medical skills most of the time. Suddenly a strong anxiety and panic rose in her heart. Could it be that what she said is true? However, before Lu Jishi could speak, Ren Shuling had already yelled, "Nonsense! Why have I never heard of this kind of illness in the world? Then you tell us how can you treat it?" Who doesn't know how to talk big? Dr. Chen, who cared most about how to treat this disease, was more anxious than anyone else. He couldn't help but step forward and said, "Mr. Shi, you said that you want to eradicate the source of the disease in the young city lord. May I ask what kind of disease it is? How to eradicate it?" He certainly knew that the source of Zhuge Xiaotian's body was the porphyrin that would be affected by ultraviolet radiation, but she couldn't explain clearly to these ancient people. In addition to the blood exchange, the only step she did more than Lu Jishi was to expose the patient to sunlight when the medicinal pills were taking effect. It was to let the porphyrin in the patient's body combine with the iron element, so that it could be synthesized into hemoglobin normally. This seemingly simple step was actually the most important step. She smiled slightly, and she suddenly raised her voice. The way to completely cure this vampire disease is actually very simple. Just let the young city lord take a special kind of medicinal pill before exposing him to the sun. But she paused, turned her wrist, and then saw a gray pill refining cauldron appear on the city wall. She looked straight at Master Yuehua and said loudly, "However, I only have the material and pill formula for the medicinal pill, but I don't have the finished product. One of the ingredient of this kind of medicinal pill is the cloud marrow Ganoderma, which is very precious. I only have one portion of it. If the pill refining fails, I can't heal the young city lord's disease for a short time. So, I need someone to refine this pill for me. Master Yuehua, are you willing to do it?" As soon as He said this, hundreds of people below fell into a strange silence. Chapter 983, I don't want to. Master Yuehua stared at the handsome young man not far away, only to feel that there was a raging storm in his heart. It made his eye sockets hot and his body tremble. The people in Yangon city below were even more shocked. The discussion was even more vigorous than when Zhuge Xiaotian's disease relapsed just now. Didn't they say that Master Yuehua can't refine pill anymore? Why did Shi Yu ask him to refine the pill? Shi Yu definitely doesn't know that Master Yuehua can't pill refining at all. The cloud marrow Ganoderma only has one portion. If it fails, isn't that the young city lord's disease can't be cured? Many doctors on the wall were excited when they heard the name cloud marrow Ganoderma. Some doctors even volunteered to do it. "Mr. Shi, Master Yuehua is not incapable of pill refining, but he has not been refining pill for many years. Cloud marrow Ganoderma is so precious, what if he spoils it? Why don't you let me do it?" Even Dr. Chen couldn't help asking, Mr. Shi, may I know what grade are the medicinal pill made by Cloud Marrow Ganoderma? He smiled slightly, 4th grade. As soon as she said this, even Master Yuehua's face turned pale. Before his spiritual fire collapsed, he could at most refine the 3rd grade medicinal pills. Besides, those 3rd grade medicinal pills didn't even need precious materials like the Cloud Marrow Ganoderma. Those doctors even shook their heads. With Master Yuehua's level, he will definitely fail in refining this 4th grade medicinal pill. Mr. Shi, you must think twice. Ren Shuling laughed aloud and looked at Heshi with contempt and arrogance. Shiyu, you insist on letting Master Yuehua refine the pill because you hope that he will fail, right? If that happens, you can shirk the responsibilities to Master Yuehua if you fail, am I right? Heshi turned her gaze on Master Yuehua. Her eyes looked gloomy. Master Yuehua, are you willing to bear the stigma of deceiving the world forever? Always letting people point at your back, never lift your head, even getting chased out of Yangon City, deprived of the qualifications to practice medicine. Are you willing to be a loser for the rest of your life? No. I don't want to. Master Yuehua's voice suddenly rose. His body was trembling violently because of exerting too much force. The lost and sad expression in his eyes disappeared, turning into firm and scorching eyes. He clenched his fists and looked at Heshi. Mr. Shi, I'm willing to try to refine the 4th grade medicinal pill. Heshi's face finally showed a slight smile. He walked to Master Yuehua and gave the pill refining materials prepared in the storage ring and the inscribed jade slip for the pill formula to Master Yuehua. After Master Yuehua took the inscribed jade slip and read it, his body trembled abruptly. When he looked at Heshi again, there were already hot tears in his eyes. Miracle Healer Shi, your great kindness, I really don't know how to repay it. If Miracle Healer Shi wants me to do anything, I will agree without hesitation. It turned out that in the inscribed jade slip Heshi gave him, it recorded not only the pill formula for treating Zhuge Xiaotian's disease, but also various pill formulas for treating his Dantian's disease and improving his cultivation and medical skills. As long as he used the medicinal pills and these pill formulas Shiyu gave him, in less than a month, the disease that had plagued him for 10 years would be completely cured. His cultivation would also exceed his past heyday. Chapter 984, Warning. Look, the pill formula Shiyu gave him was something he had never seen in Miluo continent. When someone else had an exclusive secret recipe, they did everything possible to hide it, but Shiyu gave it all to him without hesitation. Such a great kindness, Master Yuehua really didn't know how he could repay it. Although there was still a lot of discussion under the city wall, everyone was full of doubts about Master Yuehua and Shiyu. But the pill refining still started. When a cluster of stable spiritual fire appeared in Master Yuehua's hands and was thrown into the pill refining furnace, all the onlookers underneath widened their eyes. Isn't it said that the Master Yuehua's spiritual power has collapsed, and he can't condense spiritual fire at all? Who is spreading this rumor? Yeah, isn't Master Yuehua condensing spiritual fire now? It is even stronger than the spiritual fire of ordinary doctors. It's no wonder that Shiyu Kid is not confident himself, and he wants Master Yuehua to refine the pill. As the spiritual fire was put in, the spiritual grass and materials were also put in one by one. The scene was completely silent. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see the result of Master Yuehua's pill refining. With the second spiritual grass being put in, Master Yuehua finally picked up the jade-like Cloud Marrow Ganoderma. At this time, his forehead was already covered with beads of sweat, and his face became paler. The moment he picked up the Cloud Marrow Ganoderma, Master Yuehua suddenly met Li Jianyu's cold warning eyes. Li Jianyu looked at Zhuge Feng and Zhuge Xiaotian, as if saying, if you don't follow what I said, you should know how miserable the ending of Zhuge and his son will be. Master Yuehua's body trembled slightly, his eyes had a wave of uncertainty, but he calmed down quickly. He originally thought about framing Shiyu to protect Zhuge Feng's family, but when he came to the door of the west wing of Lanxiang Courtyard, he finally gave up on this decision. Because he was a doctor, doctor is kind. He really couldn't use medical skills to harm patients and frame his colleagues no matter what the reason was. Now, Shiyu was so kind to him. It was impossible for him to frame Shiyu for his own personal affair, otherwise wouldn't he be less than a human? Thinking of this, Master Yuehua showed a sneer at Li Zhenyu, resolutely lowered his head and put Cloud Marrow Ganoderma into the pill furnace. The folding fan in Li Zhenyu's angry hand made a creaking sound. He broke the iron-forged fan abruptly. The red light flickered on the pill refining furnace, and the elixir in it was continuously melting and condensing. But Master Yuehua's face became more and more ugly, and his Dantian spiritual power was slowly drying up. A burst of severe pain came from his Dantian, and his meridians were burnt due to overuse. But Master Yuehua seemed to be totally unaware, staring intently at the refining of medicinal pills in the pill furnace. He even forgot where he was now and who was next to him. More than half an hour passed, and it was still dead silent under the city wall. Everyone looked at the white-haired old man, watching him clearly painful but attentively refining medicinal pills, and they suddenly felt a little hot in their eye sockets and a little sour in their noses. Some martial artists who had survived for a long time seemed to think of the times more than 10 years ago. When the plague that made all the people in Yangon City desperate was rampant, it was the same doctor who refined medicinal pills and took care of the patients without resting. He didn't even care even he had vomited blood. Finally, he found a way to control the plague. Chapter 985, Failed. He was the savior of the entire Yangon City. Suddenly, someone yelled, "Master Yuehua, you will be able to pill refining successfully." "Yes, Master Yuehua, we support you." "Master Yuehua, we did wrong in the past. Whether you can pill refining or not, you are our most respected master." The people of Yangon City under the city wall began to shout one after another, at first a few dozen, and then for some reason, half of them were infected and began to shout non-stop. Zhuge Feng listened to the voice under the city wall, then looked at his friend who was focusing in pill refining. For some reason, he felt hot in his eyes. He quickly wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and continued to wait patiently. The faces of Li Zhenyu and the others were getting more and more gloomy. Ren Shuling gritted her teeth and said, "What? Isn't he just a fourth-rank doctor? Why are these people making a commotion?" "Sister, don't worry, he will not succeed in pill refining. With his spiritual fire, refining the third-grade medicinal pills is already hard, let alone the fourth-grade medicinal pills. When he fails, let's see if those people down there still support Master Yuehua." Lu Zhishi was also looking in Master Yuehua's direction, but there was no expression on her face when she heard that. She said in a low and panicked tone, "But, what if he succeeds in refining? Shiyu is so confident. Maybe, he can really succeed in refining." The low voice was gentle and sweet, but it described an unspeakable helplessness. This was the first time Li Zhenyu had felt Lu Zhishi's fragility and fear. For a while, he only felt that the blood in his whole body was surging up. He was willing if he was going to die for her. He gritted his teeth and said coldly, "Zhishi, rest assured, I will never let him succeed." Li Zhenyu's eyes were gloomy and cold, staring in the direction of Master Yuehua. At this time, Master Yuehua's body was dripping with cold sweat, his face was even paler, but there was hope in his eyes. Almost. He already felt the medicinal effect of the Cloud Marrow Ganoderma enveloping other medicinal pills. They were about to merge with each other and condense into pills. He would soon be able to successfully refine the pill. This was the fourth-grade medicinal pill, and its main material was the Cloud Marrow Ganoderma. Just as Master Yuehua was happily looking forward to it, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back. "Ah!" A short scream, interrupting him from channeling spiritual power. Master Yuehua fell to the ground because of the pain, but he didn't care about his pain at all, and his eyes widened suddenly, looking at the gray pill cauldron with a frightened expression. Because of the interruption of the spiritual power supply, the pill cauldron that was originally flashing red suddenly dimmed, and the materials that had already been condensed also collapsed. A curl of black smoke rose above the pill cauldron. Pill refining has failed. Master Yuehua was trembling all over. He suddenly turned his head, staring fiercely in Li Jianyu's direction, and let out a stern shout, it's you. You just sneak attacked me, didn't you? You. How can you do this? How can you do this? That is the only cloud marrow Ganoderma. How can you be so vicious? There was a weird silence in the audience. Immediately afterward, there was an uproar under the city wall. Some people, who had just been immersed in the emotions, couldn't even believe their eyes now. The pill refining actually failed. Chapter 986. No evidence. However, as the black smoke rose up from the pill cauldron, there was no strong medicinal fragrance spreading. Obviously, the pill refining did fail. However, what did Master Yuehua's words mean? Just now he was going well in refining the pill, but he suddenly cried out and fell to the ground. Was it because Li Jianyu attacked him? However, Li Jianyu looked calm with his hands behind. He said coldly, Master Yuehua, what are you talking about? I don't understand you. Master Yuehua trembled all over, trying to support himself up from the ground. However, he had exhausted all spiritual power just now, and he was now injured on his back. He couldn't get up no matter how. A line of tears fell from his red pupils. He stared at Li Jianyu fiercely and shouted, Li Jianyu, when I almost finished refining the pill, I felt someone attacked me, causing my spiritual power input to be interrupted. It was just you. You're afraid that if I succeed in pill refining, Fairy Jishi will lose to Shiyu. You despicable villain. Yesterday you threatened me to let me do something on Shiyu's medicinal pills so that Fairy Jishi can win. The person who attacked me must be you too. What? Threatening Master Yuehua to let him do something on Shiyu's medicinal pills? What did it mean? There was a commotion in the audience, but Li Jianyu was very calm. He just stared at Master Yuehua coldly. You can't simply frame someone. Master Yuehua, you are a respected doctor in Yangon City. Don't you know that framing someone casually is morally wrong? You said that I threatened you and I attacked you, then do you have the evidence? Master Yuehua took out the medicinal powder that Li Jianyu gave him yesterday. This is what you gave me yesterday and asked me to put into Shiyu's medicinal pills so that even if he has a cure for the young city lord, he will eventually lose because of this medicinal powder. Ha 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 ha. Li Jianyu laughed. Master Yuehua, you don't think you can say that I gave you this by taking out a bottle of powder, right? Is my name written on the powder or it is engraved with my Yunlan sex badge? Does Master Yuehua think that anyone would believe in your nonsense? You. Master Yuehua was speechless for a while. His body was trembling violently with anger and regret. Li Jianyu was even more proud, and he sneered, Master Yuehua, you are not good enough which caused the pill refining to fail, but now you are blaming me? Did Shiyu instruct you to do this? He gave you a pill formula that can't refine pill at all. He even claimed that it can cure the young city lord's disease. In fact, he just wants to deceive everyone and not lose the competition. There was another silence in the audience. Master Yuehua and Li Jianyu insisted on different opinions, but neither side had any evidence. Moreover, the pill refining had failed, and there was only one portion of the cloud marrow Ganoderma. Even if Shiyu wanted to prove whether he could cure the young city lord, he couldn't do so now. The matter had entered a stalemate. At this moment, Heshi, who had been watching silently, took a step forward, came to the cauldron, and slowly said, Elderly, you said I can't prove that I can cure the young city lord's disease? Isn't it? Li Jianyu sneered at him. His eyes were full of mockery. Cloud marrow Ganoderma only has a unique portion. You can find another one either in a short time. Now that the pill refining fails, how can you prove that you can cure the young city lord? Chapter 987, Going Crazy. Heshi smiled slightly. Because of such a smile, Heshi's face looked more fascinating. Who told you that the pill refining failed? What are you talking about? Li Jianyu was taken aback, then he laughed. Shiyu, you can't even judge whether the pill refining has failed or not. The spiritual power supply is interrupted before the medicinal pills condense, so how is this not a failure? He raised her eyebrows slightly and said with a chuckle, "Oh. Really? Then, keep your eyes open and take a good look at what is called pill refining." As soon as the sentence ended, a golden red fire suddenly condensed from her fingertip. Golden red. Golden red. It is the golden red fire. Before the people underneath hadn't responded, the doctors on the wall had already widened their eyes with a look of horror. Lu Zixi even exclaimed, "How is this possible?" The golden red spiritual fire is a pure flame that only martial artists above the nascent soul stage can condense with their own dantian fire. Even my father, Lu Shuyang, the president of the Doctors Association, has just purified the purity of spiritual fire to such a degree in the past 10 years. How old is this Shiyu? His cultivation seems to be the foundation establishment stage. Why? Why can he condense the golden red spiritual fire? He didn't care about the reactions of the people on the city wall at all. The spiritual fire was sent lightly into the pill refining cauldron. The pill refining cauldron was quickly relit with a golden red light. But it was totally different from the exclamation of everyone when the spiritual fire appeared just now. At this moment, everyone watching Heshi's actions couldn't help shaking their heads. How could it be possible to recondense the medicinal pills that have failed to condense? Such a thing has never happened in the Miluo continent before. How can it be successful? Ren Shuling even said with a smile in Lu Zixi ear, "Senior sister, is this kid going crazy? He want to recondense the failed materials again. He is simply dreaming." Lu Zixi smiled slightly and did not speak. Although she still felt sullen seeing the golden red fire, she would never believe that medicinal pills that had failed to condense could be refined again. This was absolutely impossible. However, as the time passed, the flame in the cauldron became brighter and brighter. The black smoke that was still wafting away disappeared without a trace, and it was replaced by a vague scent of medicinal fragrance. The medicinal fragrance had already dispersed before the pill was condensed, and it gave an indescribable refreshing feeling to those who smelled it. The doctors on the city wall who had just laughed at Heshi for bragging gradually lost their composures. Dr. Chen took a step closer, sniffed it hard, and tremblingly said, How can this medicinal fragrance be so strong? When I refined the 5th grade medicinal pills, it didn't have such a strong and pure medicinal fragrance too." He couldn't help but tiptoed and glanced into the pill cauldron, then he released the doctor's unique divine sense to explore. He immediately blurted out in shock, "It's condensing, the pills are starting to condense. How can this be?" As soon as Dr. Chen said this, everyone on the city wall was shocked, and then there was a commotion. Could it be possible that failed medicine can really be recondensed into pills? But, how is this possible? At the moment of failing, the spiritual power of the medicinal pills should have disappeared, right? Chapter 988, Why Does It Matter to Me? If it is really successful, how strong should she use pill refining ability be? At least, he must have a quasi-master level, right? What's a joke? You find a pill refiner of the quasi-teacher level and let him refine the discarded residue into medicinal pills. Even a pill refiner of the grandmaster level can't do it. No, it's impossible, right? How can it be possible to recondense the failed medicine into medicinal pills? The doctors were in a mess because what Heshi had completely subverted their knowledge. Lu Zixi face turned from red to white, then from white to green, a dark light was flickering in her eyes. She had a kind of fear and panic that she herself couldn't explain. Seeing Lu Zixi's pale face, Li Jinyu only felt a pain in his heart. He was full of pity for Lu Zixi and hatred for Shiyu. He gritted his teeth and couldn't help but once again condense a trace of sword chi on his fingertip, then he launched it at Heshi's back silently. No matter how good Shiyu is in refining pain, he is just a low-rank martial artist of the foundation establishment stage. As long as my sword chi hits him, it will definitely interrupt his pill refining. When the time comes, he will fail twice. I don't believe that this person can condense the waste into medicinal pills again. Thinking of this, Li Jinyu's eyes showed a smug grin. However, before the grin in his eyes spread to his face, he suddenly met a pair of cold and deep eyes. A man in a black brocade robe standing behind Heshi at this time. He had a handsome face that would fascinate all women, but there was a cold bloodthirsty smile on his face now. Li Zhenyu was suddenly startled. When he launched the sword Qi, there was clearly no one standing behind Shiyu. When did the man in black appear? Immediately afterward, Li Zhenyu felt a sharp pain in his chest. He couldn't help but let out a stern scream, and his body was pushed back uncontrollably, hitting the city wall hard. Li Zhenyu spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, moaning in pain. Ren Shuling and Lu Zhishi only reacted now and rushed toward him. Cousin. What happens to you? Zhenyu, are you okay? Li Zhenyu felt better under the treatment of Lu Zhishi's spiritual power. He looked at Nan Gongyu with fear and resentment. It's him who attacked me. Both Lu Zhishi and Ren Shuling followed his gaze, and they soon met Nan Gongyu's cold smile as if looking at a clown. Lu Zhishi only felt suffocating like being choked by someone. She had lost her sanity as she stood up abruptly. Nan Gongyu, what is your cultivation? What is your identity? How can you be so shameless, bullying people whose cultivation is so much lower than yours? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by the world? Nan Gongyu sneered, then he slowly said, why does the world matter to me? I only know that if anyone dares to hurt Shiyu in front of me, I will make him pay thousands of times back. Lu Zhishi's pupils shrank suddenly, and she clenched her fists. She didn't even notice the nails sinking into the palms. Before Lu Zhishi could speak, the little golden dragon who flew out had already sneered and said, some people have tried to plot against others, but this time they hit the wall hard and got retaliated. They actually dare to blame the others shamelessly too. Chapter 989, Wasn't it too much? Little Egg immediately agreed, and he pointed at Li Zhenyu and shouted, you shameless villain, you were the one who attacked Grandpa Yuehua just now. I saw it all. Now that my daddy taught you a lesson, you deserve it. Mo Xiaodu also clapped her hands and laughed, yeah. Last time, this bad guy even wanted to bite me with a poisonous snake. He is so bad. She also pointed at Fairy Zhishi, this big sister is pretty and beautiful, but she is definitely not a good person if she mixes with this kind of bad guy. These few people and spiritual pets spoke without scruples, but their voices were loud, so that everyone under the city wall could hear them clearly. The people below burst into rage. Could it be that Elderly really attacked Master Yuehua just now? Isn't that too much? Didn't Master Yuehua look really strange just now? He didn't look like he was lack of spiritual power at all. It should be right. Li Zhenyu is Yunlan sect's sword-holding elder, he is so famous. How could he do such a thing? If he really did it, isn't Fairy Zhishi, who mixes with this kind of person, also? Lu Zhishi's face turned extremely pale as she listened to the discussion from everyone below. She gritted her teeth and said, Shiyu, I know you did so much just because you want to beat me and try to be famous with my reputation so that everyone will notice you. Now, you have won, you did it. Even if you can't cure the young city lord, you now have huge reputation already. But why do you still want to drag the others down? Is Lu Zhishi not enough? You even have to step on Master Yuehua, Shuling and Zhenyu to get your reputation. Don't you think you are too much? Lu Zhishi's remarks were extremely serious, her words contained deep resentment and grievance. The people who were talking about Li Zhenyu suddenly calmed down, and they looked at Heshi with doubts again. They still had deep respect and admiration for Fairy Zhishi. Therefore, although things were getting weird, now that Fairy Zhishi had spoken, they still somehow believed in her. However, Heshi turned a deaf ear to Lu Zhishi's words. Because the pill refining had reached the most critical moment, the strong medicinal fragrance spread on the city wall along with the mellow spiritual power, and the cover above the pill cauldron also made a buzzing sound. Suddenly, the pill cauldron's cover was bounced away with a bang, and it fell to the ground with a harsh sound. Little Egg usually used this gray pill cauldron to refine pills. Now seeing the cover was bounced away, the little guy suddenly felt distressed. He rushed to pick up the cover and put it back into the void. But no one would notice little Egg's behavior at all. Everyone couldn't help taking a step forward, looking into the pill cauldron. According to the normal pill refining process, the air holes on the top of the pill cauldron would emit a strong medicinal fragrance and buzz, but the cover would not be bounced away. Could it be that the process of refining the waste residues into medicinal pills failed in the end? Master Yuehua almost jumped onto the pill cauldron, and he widened his eyes and looked into the pill cauldron with a trembling body. Then, his eyes widened in disbelief. What appeared in front of him was not a batch of waste residues nor a batch of the 4th-grade medicinal pills that the normal doctor usually refined. Chapter 990. Only chance. What appeared in front of him were dozens of 4th-grade medicinal pills. The total was 80. How can this be? How can there be 80 4th-grade medicinal pills in one batch? 20 is usually the limit. How come there are so many? As if in response to Master Yuehua's thoughts, other doctors' exclamations soon came into his ears. This should at least have 70 to 80 medicinal pills, right? Heshi on the side listened to their screams one after another, but she couldn't help letting out a sigh. Refining the waste residues into medicinal pills is indeed flawed. Not only the pills are reduced by half, but the color of these medicinal pills is still a little behind the best quality pill. It is only slightly better than those that little Egg refined. The doctors on the wall were stunned, looking at Heshi as if they were looking at a monster. If they were told before today that someone could recondense the failed waste residues into medicinal pills, they would never believe it. If they were told that someone could refine 84th-grade medicinal pills in one refine, they wouldn't believe in it at all. However, now the truth was right in front of them. Every action of Shiyu was done under their eyes, so there was no way that they were deceived. The doctors of Yangon City no longer dared to look down on this young doctor who was only 17 years old. They even looked at her with respect. Heshi didn't care about them. Instead, she took 3 medicinal pills and came to Zhuge Xiaotian. She said in a light voice, "Take these 3 medicinal pills and meditate for half an hour, then you won't be afraid of the sun anymore. There won't be botulinum toxin in your body anymore." Zhuge Xiaotian stretched out his hands that still had some red spots, took over the medicinal pills tremblingly, and said after a long time, "Miracle Healer Shi, what kind of medicinal pills are these? After I take them, I really can be a normal person." Zhuge Xiaotian's voice was slightly hoarse and trembling. He clearly remembered the scene where he had just gone mad on the city wall and turned into a vampire monster. And everyone in Yangon City saw this. They regarded him as a terrifying and ugly monster. Now even the guards on the city wall glanced at him from time to time and hurried away. Their expressions were full of fear and disgust. Zhuge Xiaotian thought at the time that his life was over. Even if he was cured in the future, the people of Yangon City could no longer treat him as a normal person. Everyone would associate him with the terrifying monster. However, at the moment of his despair, the boy named Shiyu gave him the only chance. Zhuge Xiaotian felt that his ears still seemed to hear Heshi's words. When Heshi treated him, she said softly in his ear, "Don't worry, they are afraid of you because of the unknown and fear. As long as we prove that you just got an illness that everyone could have, and you can be treated, they will treat you as a normal person again." The death and despair in Zhuge Xiaotian's eyes, because of these sentences, were once again ignited by hope. So when the scene just happened, he waited quietly, waiting for the handsome boy in front to turn him into a normal person. Heshi frowned and said, "This medicine is researched by me in conjunction with the vampire disease. I haven't thought of its name yet, but since its main material is cloud marrow Ganoderma, then I'll call it cloud marrow pill." Chapter 991, More Than Believing in Her. What? The pill formula that you researched? Dr. Chen, who was the nearest, could not help but shout, "Shi! Mr. Shi, is this true? You researched this medicinal pill yourself? It's not recorded in any ancient books." Seeing Heshi nodding, the doctors on the wall looked at each other, each showing a shocked expression. It is not impossible to self-create a pill formula, but at Miluo continent, no one can do that again for hundreds of years. The boy in front is so young, how did he do it? Lu Jishi frowned and couldn't help taking a step forward and said, Mr. Shi, creating a pill formula is not a trifle. If you are not careful, you will let your patient suffer severe damage after taking the pill. Are you sure that you researched this pill formula yourself? As she said, she softly persuaded, young city lord, Jishi didn't want to slander Mr. Shi, but the self-made pill formula really has a huge unknown danger. After taking it, it is likely to worsen your illness even more. Please think twice. When Zhuge Xiaotian heard this, his hand that had almost reached his mouth stopped, and he looked at Heshi. Heshi smiled coldly. She stood up slowly with her hands behind her back and said, you can decide for yourself whether to take the cloud marrow pill. I still have to say that. I'm confident to cure you, but I will never force you. Zhuge Xiaotian's body was slightly startled, and then his hesitant gaze suddenly became firm. He nodded slightly to Lu Jishi, thank you Fairy Jishi for your concern, but I want to trust miracle healer Shi. With that said, he didn't hesitate anymore and swallowed the 3 medicinal pills into his abdomen at once. Lu Jishi froze in place, barely keeping calm on her face, but the anger in his heart could not be suppressed like boiling water. What does Zhuge Xiaotian mean? He believes in miracle healer Shi. So, he believes in Shiyu more than me. He is just an ignorant kid who doesn't even reach meridian stage. He has no inheritance, no background. How did he bloom such a dazzling light? Even my own existence is overshadowed by him. After Zhuge Xiaotian swallowed the medicinal pills, he was still a little nervous and sat in place with anxiety. Suddenly, his face changed, and a look of pain appeared on his face. Zhuge Feng had been paying attention to his son's situation. At this time, seeing his face in pain, he couldn't help but anxiously said, Xiaotian, Xiaotian. What's wrong with you? Is the disease relapsed again? Mr. Shi, what is going on? Seeing Zhuge Xiaotian's face getting paler and paler, and even his lips showed a green-purple color, Zhuge Feng's tone also became panicky in doubt. Other doctors even shook their heads and said, see, he is just a young boy. How can he self-create pill formula? It will definitely cause trouble if he eats the pills like this. Ren Shuling smiled even more gloatingly, who told you not to listen to my senior sister's advice just now, now you are taking your own consequences. Lu Jishi's eyes flashed slightly, but she looked concerned on her face. She stepped forward and said, City Lord Zhuge, it is better to let me diagnose and treat the young city lord. If there is any problem with the medicinal pills, maybe it is still not too late. Zhuge Feng was taken aback for a moment, then he looked back and forth at Shi Yu and Lu Jishi, and he almost agreed to it. Suddenly, he saw that his son, who was still in pain, looked calm all of a sudden. He got up, sat down cross-legged and started to channel his spiritual power. Chapter 992, Is he advancing? With the channeling of spiritual power, the painful expression on Zhuge Xiaotian's face slowly disappeared, turning into tranquility and peace. Heshi's eyes flickered slightly, and her fingers moved lightly, and the purple vines that had covered Zhuge Xiaotian from the sky returned to Heshi's body in an instant. In the next instant, the warm but dazzling sunlight shined on Zhuge Xiaotian's face. Ah! Zhuge Feng exclaimed in shock, Mr. Shi, why are you removing the shade? What if Xiaotian's disease relapses? Heshi's voice calmly and firmly interrupted him, City Lord Zhuge, don't you understand? Because of the cloud marrow pill, the current sunshine is not only a harm to the young city lord, but it is the best medicine for him to heal. What? Zhuge Feng was taken aback for a moment, then he looked at Zhuge Xiaotian with his eyes widened. Zhuge Xiaotian not only didn't feel painful being shined by the sun, but a faint light radiated from him immediately. That was the light was due to the overflow of spiritual power. That was a miraculous scene when one's dantian and meridians expanded. Dr. Chen, with the highest level of medical skills, watched for a while, and he suddenly exclaimed in disbelief, Is he advancing? Not only did the old disease not recur due to sunlight, but the wounds and scars on the face healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. More surprisingly, the more the sun, the faster his spiritual power was channeling and the more mellow his spiritual power was. Black spots even secreted on his skin. This was not only curing and advancing, but also a process of cleaning impurities in the meridians and eliminating all toxins in the martial artist. Cloud Marrow Pill. Cloud Marrow Pill. Is it really just a cure for the vampire disease? Is it really just a pill formula created by a 17-year-old boy? When the eyes of these doctors once again fell on the dozens of medicinal pills remaining in the pill cauldron, there was already a fanatical light in their eyes. It can help martial artists to advance and remove impurities and toxins in the meridians. Although it still can't cleanse the muscles and replace the marrow, such a medicinal pill is already rare in the world. If I can get one, wouldn't I be able to advance my cultivation and medical skills? The doctors on the city wall were shocked and enthusiastic, and the people under the city wall were so shocked by the continuous scene that they couldn't breathe. Many martial artists who were stuck in the bottleneck period almost lost their minds and flew up the city wall to get the medicinal pills. Some people in Yangon City finally remembered the name of this young miracle healer, Shiyu. Shiyu, could it be? Is he the miracle healer rumored in Yanjing City, Shiyu, the owner of Xingda Hall? Oh my god! If it were him, it would be no surprise that such superb medicinal pills can be made. The young city lord is so severe, but he can even advance after taking Cloud Marrow Pill. If I can also get a Cloud Marrow Pill, will I be able to break through the middle stage of the Meridian stage? 4th grade Cloud Marrow Pill. After today, this medicinal pill will probably be known throughout the entire Miluo continent. At this time, Zhuge Xiaotian finally finished meditating and slowly opened his eyes. Xiaotian, how do you feel? Zhuge Xiaotian also looked a little dazed. He stood up and touched the sweat bead on his face, and a stench came to his nose. Chapter 993, full of desire he quickly condensed water's spiritual power to wash his body, then he said hoarsely, Father, I seem to have broken through to the Meridian stage perfect stage. Zhuge Feng was overjoyed as he grabbed his son's hand and inspected with spiritual power. The spiritual power in Zhuge Xiaotian's dantian was really full, it contained more spiritual power than it should be. He had really reached the Meridian stage perfect stage, and he would soon enter the pseudo-core stage of the gold core stage. His son was able to enter the gold core stage at the age of less than 30. Thinking of this, Zhuge Feng's hand trembled. However, after all, he was most concerned about his son's condition. Xiaotian, is your illness really cured? Will it relapse in 2 days? As he said, he looked at Heshi nervously with a face full of enthusiasm. Mr. Shi, can you help Xiaotian diagnose again? Heshi smiled slightly and took a step forward to catch Zhuge Xiaotian's wrist pulse. After diagnosing for a while, she released a little blood with a knife and inspected the blood condition with spiritual power before nodding and saying, City Lord Zhuge, please rest assured, the young city lord's illness has been completely cured. Really? Zhuge Feng's voice was hoarse and incoherent due to excitement. It won't relapse? Can you check it again? Is there anything we need to pay attention to? Does he need to expose to the sun less in the future? Father, don't ask any more. Zhuge Xiaotian stretched out his hand and interrupted Zhuge Feng. Afterward, he stretched out his hand to touch the sunlight and slowly said, Father, I know my body better than anyone else. I'm sure I have healed. Moreover, the sunlight not only does not make me scared and uncomfortable, on the contrary, it is giving me continuous strength. Heshi nodded and said, in addition to eradicating the source of disease in the young city lord, the Cloud Marrow Pill has another function, which is to absorb the fire energy from the sun for one's own use. It can also broaden the meridians and remove the impurities in the body. It is especially effective for martial artists who have the spiritual root of thunder, fire and gold. Of course, this effect can only be maintained until the medicinal effect of the cloud marrow pill completely disappears, which is only about 24 hours. There was another commotion after hearing Heshi's words. Many people couldn't help but greedily move closer to the open gray cauldron. Even the guards on the wall are no exception. They looked at the dozens of cloud marrow pills with eyes full of desire. Those were the medicinal pills that could let martial artists absorb the fire essence of the sun. Although the effect only lasted for 24 hours, it was already of great benefit to the martial artists. Not to mention, it could also broaden the meridians and remove impurities. Zhuge Xiaotian in front was the best proof of the effect of this kind of medicinal pill. How could they not covet and desire? Among all the people under the wall, the only ones with ugly faces were probably Lu Zhishi, Ren Shuling, and Li Zhenyu. Lu Zhishi looked at the confident and ecstatic expression on Zhuge Xiaotian's face and his normal body under the sun, then her entire heart sank bit by bit. There was never a moment when she wanted to beat a person so much, but she was powerless. She was even trampled into the mud by the other party, but she was unable to resist. But at this time, Zhuge and his son even gave her a fatal blow. Although everyone was coveting the cloud marrow pill, Zhuge Feng only cared about the safety of his son. The failure of Fairy Zhishi's treatment plan just now had eliminated all the trust in his mind. He still felt fearful seeing the sun shine on his son. Chapter 994, Medical Skills Competition Result. He said nervously, Xiaotian, why don't you go back to the basement now and wait for tomorrow to see if the disease will relapse? What if Miracle Healer Shi's treatment is the same as Fairy Zhishi? What if there are sequelae? Who knew? Zhuge Xiaotian shook his head firmly. Father, that's not the same. After Fairy Zhishi treated me, although I can get some sun, the sun does not make me feel close. Even after exposing to the sun for a long time, I felt irritable in my heart. However, Miracle Healer Shi's treatment is different. After he asked me to take the cloud marrow pill, I only felt that sunlight was so comfortable for me. Even the desire for raw meat and blood, which was hidden in my body since childhood, disappeared completely. Father, I know that this time my body is really healed. Zhuge Xiaotian's words were sincere and exciting, but it was like slapping Lu Zhishi's face. What does he mean Miracle Healer Shi's treatment is different? What does he mean his body is really healed this time? Is Zhuge Xiaotian telling all the people in Yangon City that I, Lu Zhishi, lose to Shiyu? Zhuge Feng had always known that Zhuge Xiaotian had liked raw meat more than cooked food since he was a child, and he occasionally liked to eat food cooked with blood from fierce beasts. Now when he heard this, he knew that his son was really healed this time. Under excitement, he couldn't help turning around and bowing deeply toward Heshi. Miracle Healer Shi, your medical skills have really reached the point of being miraculous. Our Zhuge family is really grateful for your life-saving grace of my son. Before Heshi had spoken yet, Baihu had walked over with his hands folding on his chest. City Lord Zhuge, this nonsense is meaningless. If you affirm my young master's medical skills and confirm that the young city lord has healed, then just declare the results of the competition between my young master and Fairy Zhishi. Zhuge Feng was startled, and he looked at Lu Zhishi with embarrassed eyes. In fact, he really wanted to directly announce the result of the medical skills competition because he was completely convinced with Shiyu's medical skills. However, the treatment results of Lu Zhishi were only announced 3 days later. If he immediately announced Shiyu's treatment results, wouldn't it be a disgrace to Fairy Zhishi? Sure enough, Ren Shuling suddenly jumped out angrily when she heard the words, why my senior sister needs to be observed for 3 days when treating a disease, but this kid doesn't need it. Zhuge City Lord, are you looking down on my senior sister? Baihu sneered, someone isn't capable. Blood changing also needed to take 3 days. Don't think that the other is the same as her. Hehe, let's not take about this, just based on the results alone, didn't Fairy Zhishi lose because she is inferior to my young master in terms of medical skills? How do you want to refute this fact? Baihu only used one sentence to shut Ren Shuling's mouth, making her face flush. Lu Zhishi bit her lower lip with a look of embarrassment and humiliation, but in the end, she lowered her eyes and silently concealed the expression in her eyes. The people of Yangon City who were onlookers were finally awake at this time. The bet about the medical skills competition in the Changelfang. That's a bet that almost everyone in Yangon City took part in. Many people even bet almost all their belongings on Fairy Zhishi. But the result of the current competition was that Fairy Zhishi actually lost. Suddenly, there was a deathly silence under the noisy city wall. Chapter 995. The show is about to begin. Li Zhenyu clutched his painful chest, took a step forward, stared fiercely at City Lord Zhuge with cold sweat on his forehead, and said coldly, "City Lord Zhuge, you better think about what you should do and what not to do. Don't forget about Zhishi's identity, Shuoling's identity, and what is my identity is. Even if you are the Lord of Yangon City, can you afford to offend all of us, the Doctors Association and Yunlan sect? What's more, you have also seen that the people of Yangon City also hope that Zhishi will win, don't they?" Fine sweat exuded on Zhuge Feng's forehead. His eyes were filled with struggle. Zhuge Xiaotian was just standing next to Zhuge Feng. After hearing Li Zhenyu threatening his father like this, he felt his anger surged up and he almost rushed out, but Zhuge Feng held him back tightly. Zhuge Feng used to stay in the external hall of the Doctors Association, so he knew better than anyone how powerful the Doctors Association was. Offending them would never end well. What's more, Li Zhenyu and Yunlan sect couldn't be offended easily as well. For a while, Zhuge Feng was in a dilemma. Bai Hu looked at their secret interactions, and he suddenly laughed and raised the volume. "When I saw elderly, I suddenly remembered that there is something. I really want to let Lord Zhuge and all the people of Yangon City below take a look. It's a very interesting video." After speaking, Bai Hu suddenly took out a piece of silver talisman paper and injected spiritual power into it. The talisman paper burned. The clear image was also projected on the city wall, so that everyone could see clearly. Although the recording talisman was rare, everyone on Miluo continent still knew it. However, the recording talisman that Bai Hu took out shocked everyone. Generally, the images recorded by the recording talisman were silent. However, when the recording talisman in Bai Hu's hand burned, in addition to the clear image, it even played Elder Li's voice. That's right, when the recording talisman was played, it was Li Zhenyu's voice. The video also showed two people who were very familiar to Yangon City people, Li Zhenyu and Master Yuehua. "Master Yuehua, have you ever heard that rumors are like a flame blown by the wind?" Li Zhenyu trembled abruptly when he heard this sentence of his own voice. He said in disbelief, How do you have such a thing?" A leisurely smile appeared on Bai Hu's face. He raised one finger to his lips and whispered, "Shu. Elderly, be quiet, don't disturb everyone in Yangon City watching this good show. After all, elderly, you know better than anyone else that the show is about to begin." Li Zhenyu was stunned on the spot. Staring at the image broadcast, he only felt cold and sweaty in his palms. And as the video played, upon hearing the dialogue between Master Yuehua and Li Zhenyu, the faces of everyone under the city wall were filled with indignation. It turned out that, without them knowing, Master Yuehua was threatened and humiliated by Li Zhenyu. Even if this was not enough, when Master Yuehua was about to successfully refine the pills just now, it was also Li Zhenyu who backstabbed Master Yuehua. Yes, at this moment, everyone believed that Li Zhenyu must have backstabbed Master Yuehua just now. Chapter 996, Shiyuan. Among all the people present, the most angry, most regretful and painful was none other than Zhuge Feng. Especially when he finally heard that Li Zhenyu threatened Master Yuehua with him and his son's future and Master Yuehua had to compromise regretfully, he covered his face to hide his hot tears. As Master Yuehua's best friend, he knew that his friend had been anxious and desperate to lose the ability of pill refining, but he couldn't do anything for him. After Zhuge Xiaotian fell ill, it was this friend who studied ancient books for him day and night to look for treatment methods and identified the doctors who came to apply. It was this friend who was obviously upright, but he was humiliated, condemned, and even threatened again and again for him. And what did Zhuge Feng do for this close friend? When he was questioned by Yangon City's doctors, when Li Jianyu embarrassed him, the city lord of Yangon City, did nothing for him. Even facing Shiyu, Master Yuehua's benefactor, he himself had many doubts, and he didn't even have the courage to declare his victory. The recording talisman had finished playing, and Zhuge Feng only felt a surge of blood in his chest. He took a step forward and said loudly, "I, Zhuge Feng, as the Lord of Yangon City, announce that in the medical skill competition between Fairy Zhishi and Shiyu won. Regardless of whether Xiaotian's illness will relapse in the future, I'm willing to take responsibility for the results I announce at this moment, and I will never renege." Zhuge Xiaotian did not hesitate and took a big step forward to say with a hoarse voice, "I can also guarantee that Miracle Healer Shi's treatment plan is definitely more correct than Fairy Zhishi. My body has been healed. If I still have any illness after that, it has absolutely nothing to do with Miracle Healer Shi." When Zhuge Feng and his son said these words, they not only announced the victory of Shiyu, but they also cut off all the shady methods of Li Jianyu or Ren Shuling afterward. In other words, this medical skill competition, which was supposed to have a disparity in strength, ended up in a way that was completely beyond everyone's expectations. A young man from the small country, Jinling Kingdom, Shiyu, who had no doctor's rank, actually defeated Fairy Zhishi of the 6th rank doctor. There was no chance for Fairy Zhishi to come back at all. Lu Zhishi's face turned pale. Listening to the doctors, who had flattered her, were now willing to surround Shiyu and say congratulations to her. Looking at Nangong Yu's cold starry eyes full of doting and affection when looking at Shiyu, Lu Zhishi felt pressure in her chest, making her almost want to crush her teeth. The person who was even more resentful than Lu Zhishi was Li Jianyu. He didn't expect that the words he threatened Master Yuehua would be recorded with a recording talisman. Even more, he did not expect that it was his own mistake that caused Zhishi to completely lose the medical skills competition and suffered such humiliation from Zhuge Feng and his son. His eyes flashed with a sinister ray and he stared at Zhuge Feng and his son like a poison-quenched ice blade. These two ignorant wastes dare to let Zhishi fall into such an embarrassing situation. I will never let them go. Thinking like this, Li Jianyu pressed his hands firmly on the fence of the city wall, almost crushing the fence made of green stone. Chapter 997, The Unusual Li Jianyu. But suddenly, Li Jianyu felt a dullness in his chest, making him almost breathless. Immediately afterward, even his head became chaotic as if it was shrouded in mist. He didn't know where he was and what he did. In the depths of his heart, a violent anger surged up, burning his sanity and making him hysterical. Ren Shuling, who was standing next to him, thought his illness had relapsed when she saw him trembling slightly. She supported him and asked, "Cousin, are you okay? Go lost. Don't touch me." Before Ren Shuling's words were finished, Li Jianyu suddenly let out an angry growl, throwing away Ren Shuling with a face of disgust. Ren Shuling was dumbfounded after being thrown away by Li Jianyu. Li Jianyu laughed and said, "Ren Shuling, you ugly and stupid woman are actually my cousin. I feel ashamed to even think of it. If you weren't the junior of Zhishi, you think I will care for you?" Li Jianyu's voice was full of arrogance. Everyone could hear his words clearly. Ren Shuling only felt an impact in her head, she was stupefied immediately. The man in front of her was obviously her who pampered and cared for her, but he had become so strange that she couldn't recognize him at all. But Li Jianyu seemed unaware. He still continued to say, "Shiyu, you lowly bastard, you dare to provoke Zhishi. You are simply tiring of living. Do you know who Zhishi is? She is my goddess, the woman whom I dare not to blaspheme even in my dream. And you dare to embarrass her. It's all to blame Yuehua, the old fool Yuehua. If it weren't for him not believing in Zhishi's medical skills and brought you bitch into the city lord's mansion, Zhishi wouldn't have to suffer such humiliation. So, I spread rumors in Yangon City. I not only spread news about you, but I also let people leak the facts that Yuehua can't pill refining. Ha ha ha, how stupid the people in Yangon City are. As soon as the news spread, they believed them all. They even cursed that old fool Yuehua. I know how much Yuehua cares about Yangon City. Letting him hear the people in Yangon City scold him is the best punishment for him. Ha ha ha, and I can even use Zhuge Feng to threaten him and let him listen to me to frame Shiyu. This is simply 3 birds with 1 stone. As long as it succeeds, Shiyu will be ruined. He will not be able to stand in the way of Jishi. But, Li Jianyu was saying excitedly, but at this point, his face was distorted. But why? The development of things was not as I expected. Shiyu actually succeeded in pill refining, and Zhuge Xiaotian is also cured. Why? Why can someone whom Jishi can't cure, but Shiyu, a nobody, can cure? God is unfair. And you? He looked fiercely at Zhuge Feng and Zhuge Xiaotian and his son, screaming sternly. Zhuge Feng, Zhuge Xiaotian, you dare to announce that Jishi lost to Shiyu in public. Do you think Yunlan sect and the Doctors Association will let you go? Stop dreaming. You all shall wait. Even if Zhuge Xiaotian's illness is cured, you will never end up well. Just wait for the revenge of me and Jishi. Chapter 998, Gone Insane. There was an uproar in the audience. They were shock and anger one after another. If Li Jianyu's words just now only made everyone shocked, puzzled, and questioned, then his last words made everyone present infuriated. This was no longer a question of winning or losing a bet. It was not the anger that could be quelled by how many crystal stones they lost or win. Although Zhuge Feng's cultivation was not high, he was a very good city lord for the people of Yangon City. But now, their city lord was being threatened publicly. He was just telling the truth, but he and his family's safety couldn't be guaranteed. How can Li Jianyu say that? How can he be so arrogant? Is it just because of the power of the Yunlan sect and the Doctors Association? Lu Zhishi's face at this time could no longer be described as ugly, but his face was extremely gloomy. Her voice was like an ice bead, and she said coldly, Li Jianyu, stop saying. Did someone do something to you that you don't even have a sane mind now? How am I not having a sane mind? Li Jianyu suddenly took a step forward and grabbed Lu Zhishi's hand with a frantic expression. Jishi, I told you before, I'm willing to do anything for you, even if you let me go murder someone, I will not hesitate. I'm willing to sweep all the obstacles before you. Shut up. Lu Zhishi trembled with anger, and a burst of smoke burst out of his hand. The white smoke floated to Li Jianyu's cheek, and he was in a daze as if he was about to fall. However, a powerful burning force surged up in his chest, making him awake again. This time, his gaze was even more scorching, and his expression even more mad. He stretched out his hand to hug Lu Zhishi and said hoarsely, Jishi, I really like you so much. You have always been the goddess in my heart. I want to hug you like this even in my dream and kiss you. With that, he was about to kiss Lu Zhishi's fragrant lips. Lu Zhishi only felt a burst of nausea rushing to her heart. She couldn't bear it anymore. A surging spiritual power was released as she pushed. Li Jianyu seemed to have completely lost the power of resistance. He staggered a few steps being pushed by Lu Zhishi, then he fell from the city wall. Bang! With a loud noise, Li Jianyu fell under the wall with an unsightly pose, let out a moan and fainted. Although the city walls of the Yangon City's city lord's mansion were not too high, the martial artists fell down without channeling spiritual power would break a few bones. The citizens below were all taken aback by the incident. When they saw Li Jianyu's embarrassed and unsightly posture, they all burst into laughter. On the city wall, Lu Zhishi and Ren Shuling finally couldn't stay any longer. They turned around and left with cold faces. No one ever looked at Li Jianyu, who had passed out in pain. Instead, the people of Yangon City underneath pointed at him and laughed at his vicious actions and his miserable end. Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon, and Mo Xiaotu, who stood not far behind Heshi, turned their admiring eyes to Xiaoli. Little Egg held up his small paw and exclaimed, "Sister Xiaoli, you are so amazing. You're even better than Mom. You can make the villain surnamed Li speak the truth without using medicine." Chapter 999, You're Getting Stronger, yeah. Mo Xiaotu was full of enthusiasm. "Xiaoli, can you teach me too? If I can master it, I can ask my junior apprentice to obediently tell the location of his treasure." Xiaoli's snowy smiley face was slightly red, and her face was full of shy smiles, because my talent skills are relatively special, so after cultivation to the third level, I can release a unique smell that can confuse people's minds and enlarge the emotions in people's hearts 10 times or even 100 times. Xiaoli was a 9-tailed silver fox. All the spiritual pets around Heshi know about it, but Mo Xiaotu didn't. Coupled with the special and rare nature of the 9-tailed silver fox, she naturally wouldn't reveal her identity. But, it's not all my credit. Xiaoli took a peek at Nan Gongyu, who was standing next to Heshi, before whispering, because the beautiful brother, no. It's Master hurt him first so that my charm can work. Otherwise, with his cultivation, it isn't easy to confuse his mind. That's already great. Little Golden Dragon admired, then he revealed a sinister-ine smile. They really wanted to retaliate against Zhuge Feng and Zhuge Xiaotian afterward. Although I'm not interested in Zhuge Feng's life or death, it's not so good if it involves Master Yuehua. Now Li Zhenyu spoke out their secret conspiracy in front of everyone in Yangon City. With the virtue of fishing for fame of Fairy Jishi, she will not hesitate to save the lives of Zhuge's father and son. Now Li Zhenyu was ashamed publicly, and he even disgusted Fairy Jishi, and there is no sequelae. Ha. Xiaoli, you are really amazing. Xiaoli was delighted. She glanced at Heshi with joy eyebrows, then she quietly ran to Heshi's side and grabbed her clothes. Her eyes were full of happiness. It's great that I can also contribute to Miss. Heshi felt the little girl approaching, and she lowered her head and stroked her hair softly. She said softly, "Xiaoli, you did a good job just now. You're getting stronger." Xiaoli's eyes lit up, and the already bright and beautiful face seemed to be radiant because of Heshi's praise. She was obviously just at a young age, but her eyes already had a fascinating charm. That was the charm that only the 9-tailed silver fox could have. Heshi moved slightly in his heart, and put the little girl in his arms, and said in his heart that she must protect Xiaoli and never let her suffer any more harm. Xiaoli was hugged into Heshi's warm embrace. Her body stiffened slightly, but she relaxed immediately, fully enjoying the moment of happiness. It's really great to be Miss Side all the time. The only depressed person was Nan Gongyu. Why do these little things like to stick around Xi'er so much, occupying her attention? Really annoying. At this time, the medical skills competition between Lu Jishi and Shiyu was finally over. The people of Yangon City below were also preparing to leave. Suddenly, a doctor on the wall couldn't help but speak. "Mr. Shi, are you selling this cloud marrow pill? What is the price?" Just this sentence stopped the martial artists of Yangon City who had planned to leave. Chapter 1000, Not Comparable to Him, yeah. There is also the inestimable value cloud marrow pills that can help people to advance. There are a total of 77 cloud marrow pills. Heshi smiled slightly and said without hesitation, "The person who really refines these cloud marrow pills is Master Yuehua, so this furnace of pills belongs to him. If you want to buy it, just ask him." Master Yuehua's eyes widened suddenly. "What? They belong to me? How can this be? Absolutely no. Absolutely no way." Heshi simply ignored Master Yuehua's panic, and she said lightly, "Oh, right, remember to pay for the raw materials. With the 10 best quality flame spirit pills from last time, a total of 3 million crystals. Remember to pay it back early. Otherwise, I will count interest. 3,000,000 crystals, it is only 3,000,000 crystals. It is not even the value of a cloud marrow pill. Shiyu's words seemed indifferent and ruthless, but in fact, she gave him all the cloud marrow pills. Master Yuehua only felt hot and humid in his eyes. His lips opened and closed countless times, trying to speak, but he couldn't say a word. The onlookers widened their eyes when hearing Heshi's words. Then, everyone looked at Master Yuehua with gazes full of envy, jealousy and hatred. Just because Master Yuehua helped Shiyu a few times, he actually gave Master Yuehua a total of 77 cloud marrow pills. If I knew early, I would also speak up for Shiyu, and maybe I could still get a few pills. There were a few doctors, who were really unwilling, even couldn't help protesting to Heshi, Mr. Shi, even if Master Yuehua recovers the ability to refine pill, he is only a 4th-rank doctor. We are 6th-rank doctors. Even our cultivation is higher than him. Instead of giving the cloud marrow pills to Master Yuehua, you might as well give us a few so that these cloud marrow pills won't be waste. Heshi smiled slightly and looked at him with a cold gaze. Do you really think you are qualified to compare with Master Yuehua? What do you mean by this? I'm a 6th-rank doctor. Yuehua is just, in my eyes, doctor rank is nothing. Heshi interrupted him coldly, and Master Yuehua has something you all don't have, it's something you can never compare to him. After speaking, she didn't stay any longer. She took Nangong Yu's hand and quickly walked down the city wall. Before leaving, she only left a sentence to Zhuge Feng, City Lord Zhuge, don't forget to give me the agreed reward. We came for the Divine Soul Jade. Don't take anything else, but I must get the Divine Soul Jade. Of course, the bets in Changle gambling house must not be forgotten. As soon as Heshi left, the people around her naturally followed her and left quickly. For a while, Zhuge Feng and his son and the group of doctors who looked at each other with ugly faces were left on the wall. The 6th-rank doctors who had just been reprimanded by Heshi couldn't help saying ruthlessly, that damn kid, how can he say that to me? How can he say that I will never be better than Yuehua? Doctor Hu, do you know why Yuehua's spiritual power collapsed and lost the ability to refine pill? Zhuge Feng suddenly took a step forward and coldly interrupted him. However, without waiting for Doctor Hu's answer, Zhuge Feng looked at the densely packed citizen under the city wall with sharp and deep gazes. Do you know why Master Yuehua would lose all future and hope at his glorious period of his lifetime? Chapter 1001, A Blessing in Disguise. There was silence under the city wall, and everyone was holding their breath for Zhuge Feng's answer. It is because of the plague. Zhuge Feng said firmly, 10 years ago, everyone in the Yangon city was on the verge of life and death, and the plague was raging. Yuehua regarded Yangon city as his home and all of you as his relatives, so even if he had to sacrifice everything, he wanted to save all of you. He tried to get himself infected with the plague, tried various medicines to restrain the spread of the plague, and in the end, he finally found medicinal pills to treat the plague. However, in his own attempts, his dantian suffered damage. He could no longer condense the spiritual fire, and he could no longer refine pill. Under the city wall, everyone in Yangon city looked disbelief as if they were struck by lightning. Zhuge Feng continued, he sacrificed his own future and his talent as a doctor for all of you. But, how did you treat him? You spread the rumors released by Li Zhenyu to hurt him and slander him. You ask your own conscience, can you face yourself and your relatives who survived 10 years ago? Someone in the crowd was sobbing low, and everyone's eyes were filled with regret and self-blame. Master Yuehua suddenly took a step forward, pressed Zhuge Feng's shoulder and said with a hoarse voice, Brother Zhuge, don't say any more. I don't feel pain. You see, didn't I get a blessing in disguise? If Shiyu didn't see through my dantian was hurt in a glance, I wouldn't believe in him. If I didn't believe in him, Xiaoyan's disease wouldn't be treated, and I wouldn't get so many cloud marrow pill. I don't feel regret at all. Instead, I feel very good, very content. He looked at the people under the city wall and said loudly, Yangon City is my home, and everything I do is my willingness, and I never regret it. If you really want to thank me Yuehua, then please pass on all the thanks to me to Shiyu. It was Shiyu who made me reborn and qualified to be a doctor again. Shiyu's kindness to me, even if I spend my entire life, I can't repay it. Master Yuehua, my life was saved by you more than 10 years ago. Shiyu is your benefactor and he is equivalent to our benefactor. I'm willing to repay Miracle Healer Shi on behalf of Master Yuehua. As long as Miracle Healer Shi has any order, Zhao Ting will execute complaint. Me too. From then on, Miracle Healer Shi is our most distinguished guest in Yangon City. Yes, if anyone dares to slander Miracle Healer Shi again, I will never let him go. Heshi, who had just walked down the city wall, suddenly heard the earth-shaking shouts inside and outside the city wall. Although the shouts were not uniform at all, they were all mixed with her name, Miracle Healer Shi. She was taken aback for a moment, and she couldn't help but shook her head and chuckled. Nan Gongyu on the side stretched out his hand to bring her into her arms, and he whispered in a slightly sour tone, Little girl, I really want to hide you. Why no matter where you go, you will be the focus of everyone's attention. They can't look away from you at all. Heshi grabbed his hand and smiled slyly, What? Is Lord King of Hell jealous? Nan Gongyu stretched out his hand, scratched the tip of her nose and hugged her tighter into his arms, Sheer, I'm just afraid, the better you are, the more afraid I will be that one day you will leave me. Chapter 1002, Brag. Heshi heard the anxiety and nervousness in his tone, and she couldn't help laughing. She poked his chest in annoyance, Your Royal Highness King of Hell, the daughter of the President of the Doctors Association likes you secretly, I'm not jealous yet. Why are you being jealous first? I'm excellent. Humph. You reached the soul-splitting stage at the age of 20. Can anyone on Miluo continent be able to beat you, King of Hell? Nan Gongyu was startled slightly, then he couldn't help letting out a deep laugh. He lowered his head and kissed her lightly before he smiled smugly, Well, Sheer is right. I'm so excellent, which woman in this world is worthy of me? Even Sheer barely meets my standard. Barely? Heshi kicked the person away, and said with an annoyed smile, Stop bragging. The clear and pleasant laughter spread throughout the entire Lanxiang courtyard. It was filled with endless happiness and sweetness. However, this kind of laughter was like poison in Lu Zhishi's ears in the east wing of the Lanxiang courtyard, making her clench her fists tightly. Although on the wall, Zhuge Feng had announced the outcome of the match between Heshi and Fairy Zhishi's medical skills. However, in the past 3 days, people kept coming to inquire about Zhuge Xiaotian's condition. After all, Fairy Zhishi almost cured Zhuge Xiaotian on that day, but in the end, the disease had relapsed not more than 3 days. Even Fairy Zhishi and Ren Shuling, although full of shame and resentment, still stayed in Lanxiang courtyard. Everyone wanted to see the real result of the medical skills competition. However, after 3 days, most of the people who participated in the gamble were disappointed. Because Zhuge Xiaotian's condition was getting better and better, people could even see him walking in the sun on the streets of Yangon City. His face was ruddy and full of energy. How could he look strangely ill? On this day, Heshi was enjoying a leisurely tea and playing chess with Nan Gongyu in the west wing of Lanxiang courtyard. Qing Long, Baihu, Gu Lufeng and others also spent rare and leisurely days in the yard. Zhuge Feng had promised to bring Divine Soul Jade to Heshi tonight, so if nothing happened, after tomorrow, they planned to leave Yangon City when they received the gamble funds from Yangon City. Suddenly, a few people rushed in from the courtyard, led by Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu, who was still covered with gauze. Li Zhenyu fell from the city wall that day. Although he would not die, he broke 3 ribs and fractured his left leg. It could be said that he suffered a lot. In particular, his reputation nowadays was even more ruined. People walking on the street were pointing to him, and his sect even used inscribed jade slip to announce that his position as the sword-holding elder was removed. Li Jianyu's life went smoothly whether in his family or in Yunlan's sect, since when did he suffer such a huge setback? During these few days of recuperating, he really hated Shiyu into her bones. However, before he could think of a more sinister plot to frame Shiyu, his first gave him an astounding news. This was also the reason why he had to come to Lanxiang courtyard with his aching body. He was really surprised when he saw Li Jianyu and Ren Shuling. They looked extremely anxious and angry, and there were still a lot of people behind them. Such a momentum, they seemed like they were here to collect debts. Chapter 1003, Drive Away. Before He asked them why, Ren Shuling rushed up in a vigorous step and cursed, "Shiyu, what have you done to us? Isn't it enough for us to be so miserable by you in the past few days? You? Why do you want to drag us down like this?" He raised her eyebrows and asked a little surprised, "What did I do?" "You're still pretending to be innocent." Ren Shuling gritted his teeth. Today, all the medicine halls in the Tiangang Kingdom have posted announcements, saying that the medicinal pills in the pharmacies will no longer be sold to my Ren family and my cousins. Li family, aren't all these done by you? He's eyes flashed. Before she spoke, Gu Lufeng, who was drinking tea on the side, stood up slowly and said, "I announced this. Shiyu really doesn't know. You can ask me if you have any questions." "It's you. What are you? You dare to stop those pharmacies from selling medicines to our Ren family from now on? Do you think I would be afraid of such threats?" Gu Liufeng's peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. His eyes were full of coldness. "From the moment you insulted Shiyu, you should have this kind of awareness. Or do you think that Shiyu can be bullied by you at will? When you were arrogant, we watched you arrogantly. Now that you fucked up, don't come to blame us. Your loser look is really too unsightly." Ren Shuling's face flushed red, looking at Gu Lufeng and He fiercely as if she tore them in pieces the next moment. Lu Jishi, who still lived in the east wing of Lanxiang courtyard, rushed over when she heard the news. Seeing Ren Shuling's infuriated look, she quickly asked, "Shuling, what happened?" As soon as Ren Shuling heard Lu Jishi's question, her eyes became red as she said in a sobbing tone, "Senior sister, they are bullying us. Not only they disgraced you publicly, they even want to drive away my Ren family." "Drive away?" Seeing Lu Jishi coming out, Li Jianyu hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Jishi, you don't know this yet. Early this morning, all the pharmacies in Yangon City published an announcement, listing a series of names, including me, Shuling, Dr. Jiang, Peng San and others. Those pharmacies announced that they will blacklist us and our family from now on and no longer provide medicinal pills to us. Moreover, it is not just Yangon City, but all medicine halls in the Tiangang Kingdom today all posted this announcement." "What?" Lu Jishi exclaimed, "How is this possible? Why would these pharmacies do this?" "It's because of these bitches." Ren Shuling screamed, "They threatened the pharmacies to drive us away." Lu Jishi looked even more startled. "Just them, how could they threaten all the pharmacies in the Tsangming Kingdom?" Li Jianyu and Ren Shuling's expressions were distorted. Gu Lufeng took a step forward and smiled slowly, "I can answer this question for them. Because 3 days ago, I just issued orders to all the branches and supply points of Xingda Hall in Miluo Continent. All pharmacies that want to cooperate with Xingda Hall must blacklist the families I listed and never provide medicinal pills to them. Otherwise, Xingda Hall will stop cooperating with these pharmacies. It's that simple." Lu Jishi's breathing stopped slightly and her eyes widened. Chapter 1004, Bully, Lu Yin, who followed Lu Jishi, had already laughed and said, "Are you kidding? Xingda Hall, what Xingda Hall? A small pharmacy can actually threaten all pharmacies in the Tiangang Kingdom? Do you think your medicinal pills are the legendary best quality pill? Ha, you even learned from the Doctors Association to act arrogant. Just look at yourself whether you have this ability." Lu Yin's laughter was full of sarcasm and contempt. What she said was taken for granted. But everyone present, including Lu Zhishi, didn't laugh at that, but everyone looked unsightly. You don't know if Xingde Hall is capable of this, then you should know whether I have it, right? Just after Lu Yin's words, a clear male voice sounded at the entrance of Lanxiang courtyard. Please rest assured Shi Yu and Brother Gu. Brother Gu's list has been notified to each branch of the Qingxie sect and passed to all pharmacies in the Tiangang Kingdom. I can guarantee that they will execute accordingly. While talking, a tall and slender man in a green robe appeared at the gate of the courtyard. As soon as Shen Qingchua saw this person, she immediately hurried forward happily. Uncle, why are you here? I miss you so much. The person who came was Shensen of the Qingxie sect and the uncle of Shen Qingchua. Shensen knocked his niece on the forehead and smiled angrily. Miss me a lot. Why didn't I notice it? I thought you were so happy that you were reluctant to come back. Shen Qingchua's face flushed, then she shook Shensen's sleeve and said cutely, Uncle, why are you like this? We finally meet, but you still criticize me. But uncle, why are you here? Shensen patted Shen Qingchua's hand before smiling and said, Chui, you shouldn't be the one who says that. Mr. Shi is our most important guest of the Qingxie sect. He came to Tsangming Kingdom and you didn't even notify me to let our Qingxie sect welcome him. As a result, I got the news from Brother Gu. Shen Qingchua's cheeks were even more flushed, and she did not speak for a long time. I of course wanted to inform grandfather and my parents in Qingxia sect that Shiyu had come to the Tsangming Kingdom. However, when they meet Shiyu, wouldn't they also meet Gu Lufeng? At the thought of such a scene, she couldn't help feeling anxious. She just wanted to postpone such a day a little bit later. However, before Shen Qingchua could answer, Lu Zhishi frowned and said, Elder Shen, what did you mean? Shensen seemed to see Lu Zhishi at this moment, and he couldn't help being startled. It turned out to be Fairy Zhishi. Nice to meet you. Lu Zhishi couldn't help feeling aggrieved when she was being ignored by Shensen just now. When is my sense of existence so low? Or is this Shensen deliberately pretending to disgrace me? At this time, seeing Shensen, the people who had come in with Ren Shuling and Li Zhenyu couldn't help but surround him, shouting outrageously. Elder Shen, as the leader of the Qingxie sect, of the Tsangming Kingdom, how can you bully us like this? Yeah. Our Peng family and Qingxie sect have no grievances and no grudges. Why do you forbid us to buy medicine in the pharmacies? Elder Shen, when did Qingxie sect start to listen to a little Xingde Hall? Is Xingde Hall worthy of that? It's just a pharmacy in a small country like Jinling Kingdom. Are the people of the Qingxie sect going crazy? They actually listen to a small pharmacy. Chapter 1005, Revenge. Shensen couldn't help but raised her eyebrows when he heard this, and said in surprise, Oh? Didn't everyone here know? The medicinal pills sold by Qingxie sect are all from Xingde Hall. In addition, did you wrong me Qingxie sect and Xingde Hall? The order issued is that you are not allowed to buy medicinal pills supplied by Qingxie sect and Xingde Hall. We didn't restrict you for buying ordinary medicinal pills. As he said, he smiled gently and nodded toward Li Zhenyu. He said with a leisurely expression, By the way, elderly, since you are here, there is no need for me to find you again. Elderly, please tell your great elder that the Meridian's cleansing pill and the best spirit healing pill pre-ordered for next month by the Li family can only be cancelled due to the news announced this time. Afterward, he glanced at Ren Shuling with a gentle smile. Oh, it turns out that Miss Ren is here too. That's great. Please go back and tell your father that the bone muscle enhancement pill he ordered, we Qingxie sect also won't be unable to provide. Of course, we will double the deposit you paid. Shensen's remarks were gentle and polite, but they sounded like thunder in the ears of everyone present. All the people present were instigated by Li Zhenyu, and they more or less participated in the action to frame Heshi. Under Nangong Yu's instructions, Bai Hu found out the identities and origins of these people almost immediately, then he gave the list to Gu Lufeng. When these people just received the news that Xingde Hall blacklisted their family, they even laughed like Lu Yin. Just a mere Xingde Hall, they really think they are something? Ha, they actually want to blacklist us? What a joke. But, soon, they couldn't laugh anymore. Because after the news was announced, they and their families, no matter which pharmacies they went to, were told that they could only buy ordinary medicinal pills on the market. They couldn't buy a single one of the best quality medicinal pills provided by Qingxie sect. Even some families, who had been waiting for half a month and finally got the chance to pre-order, were rejected by the pharmacy with just one sentence. At this time, they panicked. So after learning about the relationship between Xingde Hall and Shiyu, they followed Ren Shuling and Li Jinyu early in the morning to question them. Ren Shuling's expression was even more distorted at this time. She was so angry that her entire body trembled. The bone muscle enhancement pill ordered by her father was originally intended for her and his younger brother. Originally, Qingxie sect was willing to let them pre-order earlier because she was the daughter of the Doctors Association's president. Her father had been praising her after he knew that the bone muscle enhancement pill would arrive. His brother was also full of expectations. She herself was planning to use bone muscle enhancement pill to improve her meridians, then she would break through the bottleneck of the gold core stage. But now, not only had her original plan was ruined, but she would also be blamed by her family when she returned. How could she accept such an ending? You are too shameless. You even use your power to revenge. Gu Lufeng couldn't help but shook his head and laughed. Miss Ren, are you joking? Revenge? We can decide whom should our pills sell to. Is it that we can't even decide on this? Chapter 1006, Don't Be So Ruthless. Although everyone knew that the best quality pill came from Xingde Hall, few people really knew the relationship between Qingxie sect and Xingde Hall. But now they knew very clearly. Everyone knew that Xingde Hall was Shiyu's private property. All the medicinal pills belonged to him. He could of course decide who should the medicinal pills sell to. Everyone in Lanxiang courtyard looked at each other with unsightly and panicky faces. At this moment, Heshi was holding a chess piece in her hand, turning it lightly. She glanced over Gu Lufeng, Bai Hu, and finally Nan Gongyu. Nan Gongyu's eyes were gentle. He was holding a black chess piece, and he placed it gently with a leisurely and contented expression. Heshi was about to put down the white chess piece in her hand, then she suddenly heard Lu Zhishi saying, Mr. Shi, although you are the young master of Xingde Hall, you use your authority to offend so many families for your own private gain. Isn't this behavior too rash? Don't forget, these medicinal pills are not made by you. Have you consulted your master? Heshi smiled slightly and put down the white chess piece, then she stood up and smiled with her hands behind her back. Of course, my master will have no objection. If Fairy Zhishi doesn't believe it, you can go to him and ask. After that, she stopped looking at Lu Zhishi, but she smiled slyly at Nan Gongyu. It's too noisy here. The yard is full of annoying people. Let's forget about this game. We will play again next time. After she finished speaking, she waved her sleeves, turned around and left. As soon as Heshi left, the corners of Nan Gongyu's mouth slowly curled up. He also left the place. However, Bai Hu, Qing Wan and others held their fists to refrain themselves from laughing out. They all entered the room together. Princess, you are so bad. What master, is no master at all. All medicinal pills are refined by Shiyu alone. Princess actually asked Fairy Zhishi to ask her master. Who should Fairy Zhishi ask? For a while, the people in the Lanxiang courtyard walked away completely. Only those, who looked furious, unwilling and helpless, were left here. A hint of fear and panic surged in everyone's mind. Especially those who were instigated by Li Jinyu to turn against Shiyu. They glared furiously at Li Jinyu, and they were full of regret. If they knew this would happen, they wouldn't be tempted by Li Jinyu's little prophet to go against Shiyu. Gu Liufeng's move was so ruthless. What a collective punishment. If it was just themselves being retaliated against, then it's not a big problem. If the family was implicated, would they have a good life in the future? Now, they wanted to kowtow to beg for mercy, but would the other party still give them this opportunity? Seeing that He and others had left, Shensen shook her head with a smile, cupped her fist toward everyone in the courtyard, and prepared to leave. However, Lu Jishi took a step forward and blocked Shensen's path. Elder Shen, don't be so ruthless. Qingxia's sect has always been righteous and chivalrous. Can't Elder Shen forgive everyone here? Shensen stopped and said with a gentle expression, Fairy Jishi, as I said just now, all the medicinal pills of Qingxia sect are provided by Xingde Hall. Since Xingde Hall is unwilling to sell to these families, I can only act accordingly. Please forgive me, Fairy Jishi. Chapter 1007, Coercion and Bribery. Lu Jishi's eyes flashed and slowly said, Elder Shen, can Qingxia sect only work with Xingde Hall? Shensen was taken aback, staring at Lu Jishi with scorching eyes. What does Fairy Jishi mean? Lu Jishi showed a deep smile on her face. Jishi knows that Qingxia sect has not been easy to buy medicinal pills in the past few years, so it has cooperated with Xingde Hall. But what if the Doctors Association is willing to cooperate with Qingxia sect? Elder Shen, are you willing to consider changing partners? Shensen frowned slightly. He was about to shook his head to refuse. Lu Jishi said in a low voice, Elder Shen, please consider carefully before answering. It is said that the medicinal pills that Xingde Hall can provide so far are only the 4th grade. Is Elder Shen sure that you don't need the help of the Doctors Association in the future? After speaking, she paused before continuing, I'm not asking Elder Shen and Xingde Hall to stop cooperating, but I hope Elder Shen can persuade Xingde Hall to cancel this decision so that everyone present can continue to buy medicinal pills freely. If Elder Shen agrees, then the Doctors Association and Qingxia sect are allies. Otherwise, if Qingxia sect asks the Doctors Association in the future for help, Jishi will not know what will happen. This was the first time that Lu Jishi really threatened a person. Because of her inexperience, her voice even trembled slightly. And her mood was very unhappy. It seemed that all the bad things in her life appeared here for the first time, and it was all because of one person, Shiyu. As soon as Lu Jishi said this, all the people looked hopeful. Compared with Xingde Hall and Qingxia sect, even a fool knew that Qingxia sect had more say. Maybe, Xingde Hall was one of Qingxia sect's industries. Although Shensen kept saying that Qingxia sect listened to Xingde Hall, none of them would believe it. Shiyu was just a kid who was at the foundation establishment stage. Shensen was a master of the nascent soul stage. As long as Shensen was willing, he must be able to convince Shiyu. However, Shensen chuckled lightly without hesitation, sarcastically saying, Fairy Jishi is so funny. Even without Xingde Hall, Qingxia sect can't get those high-grade medicinal pills, right? Am I too old that I lose my memory? How many high-grade medicinal pills did the Doctors Association provide us Qingxia sect each year? The supply of medicinal pills from the Feng family to Qingxia sect had been stuck for a long time. It was already good for them to have 10 pills, so what was the difference between offending and not offending? Not to mention, now with the support of the Xingde Hall, the disciple of the Qingxia sect were high-spirited and refreshed. They didn't have to be threatened by the Doctors Association anymore. Lu Jishi suddenly squinted her eyes, approached Shensen, and said in a voice that almost only 2 of them could hear, then if I say, as long as Qingxia sect is willing, our Doctors Association will provide all the medicinal pills of the Feng family's portion to the Shen family. Shensen's eyes widened suddenly, his face was full of disbelief. Lu Jishi saw Shensen's expression, and she smiled with satisfaction. She didn't believe that Shensen could resist such a huge temptation. In fact, what she said to Shensen today was not just for the sake of fighting with Shiyu. Since the successive incidents happened in the Feng family, the status of the Feng family in the Miluo continent had plummeted again and again. When Luli sect was destroyed, the Feng family almost had no power. Chapter 1008, can't tell good from bad. Before Lu Zixi left home, she had heard her father and the elders in the association discuss that they wanted to resupport a sect as the representative of the Doctors' Association. If Feng family really disappointed them, they could use it to replace the Feng family. In Lu Zixi's view, Qingxia sect's comprehensive strength even surpassed Feng family, and Qingxia sect could almost be regarded as the Shin family. If the Shin family could be supported as a puppet of the Doctors' Association, it would obviously be more suitable than the current Feng family. However, to Lu Zixi's expectation, Shen Sen was just surprised for a moment before saying with a faint smile, "Thank you Fairy Zixi for your kindness, but we have a good cooperation with Xingde Hall now, so I don't want to consider changing partner yet. If Fairy Zixi has nothing else for me, then I'll leave first." After finishing speaking, he didn't even look at Lu Zixi's reaction and didn't wait for Lu Zixi to say anything, he just turned around and left. Lu Zixi stood there with a stunned expression, looking at the back of Shen Sen's resolute figure. She couldn't recover her senses for a long time. Rejected? Shen Sen rejected? The conditions I offered is dreamed of by many families, but this man actually rejected? An unspeakable anger surged in Lu Zixi's heart. This anger even made her unwilling and hated even more than her being ashamed by Shiyu in public. When is the dignified Doctors' Association, in the eyes of others, inferior to Xingde Hall and Shiyu? Ren Shuling, who listened to their conversation, stomped her feet fiercely and cursed loudly, "What Qingxia sect's elder, I think he has a problem with his brain. He didn't even put our Doctors' Association in his eyes. Really can't tell good from bad. Senior sister, there will always be times when they regret it." Lu Zixi's eyes were dark, and the hands hanging beside her were clenched into fists. "That's right, I will definitely make all these people regret it." Lu Zixi and Ren Shuling were full of anger, thinking about how to make Qingxia sect and Shiyu regret in the future. However, the people in the yard looked at each other in panic when they saw the result. Not long ago, Qingxia sect was also short of medicinal pills due to Feng family, and the cultivation among their disciples wasn't smooth. Many of the unsettled outer disciples even switched to other factions such as the Yunlan sect. However, they suddenly had a large amount of top and upper grade medicinal pills. Not only was there ample supply in the sect, but there was even a margin for public sale. Those disciplines that left the Qingxia sect were really regretful. Because now Qingxia sect not only inner disciples, but outer disciples would also get a certain amount of best quality pill every year. That was the best quality pill. It couldn't be bought even with money in the market out there. The large number of medicinal pills that Qingxia sect suddenly took out caused many discussions throughout Tiangang Kingdom. At the beginning, everyone guessed that a pill refining master suddenly appeared in Qingxia sect, but how could a pill refining master refine such a huge amount of medicinal pills? This was where most people were puzzled. Today, this mystery had finally been solved. It turned out that the medicinal pills of Qingxia sect were all provided by Xingde Hall. The little Xingde Hall could provide such a huge amount of best quality pills. What kind of power was behind them? Although the best quality pill was ridiculously high in price, the effect was amazing. Chapter 1009, Regret. Especially for people with average talents, taking some of the best quality pills could break through the bottleneck and give them the hope of advancing again. How can such horrible and powerful medicinal pills not make everyone yearn for and scramble to buy? It was okay if they hadn't tasted it before, but now that they had tasted the benefits, they suddenly say that they were not available. Wasn't this killing them? Thinking of this, the eyes of these people looking at Lu Zixi and others with grievances. Of course, they hated Li Zhenyu more, but no one knew now that Li Zhenyu did all this for Lu Zixi. Wasn't their predicaments caused by Lu Zixi indirectly? Lu Zixi's face turned green and white. I have always been the favored one since I was a child. I have always accepted praise from the others. The others only have envy and admiration in their eyes when seeing me. When did I see such treatment? All this is because of Shiyu. Lu Zixi took a deep breath, and she put up a gentle and moving smile before apologized slightly. You can blame Zixi for indirectly causing this to happen to you. I really feel sorry. I didn't expect that Mr. Shi and Elder Shin would be so ruthless. But, she paused. The apology on her face turned into self-confidence and comfort. However, don't worry, you are hated by Mr. Shi more or less because of me. To apologize, as long as you buy medicinal pills from the pharmacies under the Doctors Association, you will have an 80% discount. Ren Shuling nodded vigorously and said, yeah. Why should you be threatened by that bitch? Huh, who wants his medicinal pills? Is there still a shortage of medicinal pills in our Doctors Association? The people present looked at each other, but no one felt happy, they were still dejected. Even Ren Shuling and Li Jinyu looked unsightly when they would be blamed by their families for not getting those best quality medicinal pills. Although there were many medicinal pills from the Doctors Association, how could those best quality pills be good? They heard that the Doctors Association bought a lot of this best quality pill and went back to study, but so far there was still no result. This result was expected. If the Doctors Association was capable of refining such magical medicinal pills, they wouldn't wait until now. Haze. They once again deeply regretted that they offended Shiyu for Fairy Jishi. Early the next morning, Zhuge Feng sent Divine Soul Jade gratefully. Heshi was very happy to get Divine Soul Jade. This was the purpose of their trip. With this Divine Soul Jade, she could restore Shaoqi's sanity a little bit. But Bai Hu and Gu Lufeng were happier than Heshi. Because they got Divine Soul Jade, it meant that they won the bet that involved the entire people of Yangon City. What they were about to earn would be the wealth of the entire Yangon City. Thinking about the dejected faces of those smug people who bet on Fairy Jishi before, Bai Hu felt very delighted. The two walked leisurely all the way in the direction of Changelfang. When passing a pharmacy, an angry male voice came from inside. Why don't you let me buy the best quality pill? I ordered the bone muscle enhancement pill months ago. It's finally my turn to buy it. Chapter 10:10, Couldn't buy medicinal pills. The staff in the store interrupted him mercilessly. Customer, if you have any questions, you can read the announcement of our shop. Our pharmacy is just a small business, and we still want to get the best quality pill in the future, so we don't dare violate the announcement. Not to mention, this news is from Qingxia sect. Please forgive me. What? Our Zhou family is on the blacklist and we will not get the best quality pill in the future. Why? Before the staff could speak, a young discipline wearing Qingxia sect costume walked up and sneered, if you want to know, why don't you go back and ask your son or brother? I believe they must be very clear why did Qingxia sect and Xingda Hall blacklist them. The Zhou family person who wanted to buy the best bone muscle enhancement pill looked pale, then he said angrily, Li Hai, come here. You are not from the Zhou family. Now order the best quality pills in this shop for me. Even if I have to wait 3 months, I'll accept it. A tall and burly man quickly walked out from behind the Zhou family person, and he said to the staff, I want to order the best bone muscle enhancement pill 3 months later. If 3 months is not enough, I can wait 4 months. I'm really sorry, customer. It's not that we don't want to sell, but, upon seeing this, Qingxia sect disciple couldn't help but sneer with his arms folded, brother, if you are the servant of the Zhou family, then you are also on the blacklist. If not, then I advise you not to do this kind of stupid thing. Because the announcement is very clear that if someone resells medicinal pills to people in these families, they will also be blacklisted once they are found out. If you bought medicinal pills for someone from the Zhou family, then from then on, your Li family will no longer be eligible to buy medicinal pills produced by Qingxia sect and Xingda Hall. As soon as this statement came out, the burly man named Li Hu staggered, and his hand that had been stretched out also retracted like he was getting an electric shock. The man surnamed Zhou stared in horror, then he looked at Li Hu viciously, I ask you to buy medicinal pills, do you hear me? But this time, no matter what he said, the burly man named Li Hu dared not say one more word. Although he himself, as the martial artist hired by the Zhou family, had long given up to advance, he had a precious son with great talent. Li who still wanted to earn enough money to buy the best quality Meridian's cleansing pill in the future. If I can't work in the Zhou family, I can just work for another family. But if I can't buy the best quality pill in the future, how can my precious son advance in the future? Seeing that Li Hu would no longer buy for him and the onlookers pointed at him, verbally treating them from the Zhou family as scourges. The man's surname Zhou was filled with hatred. He left bitterly with a red face. I must go back and check. To check clearly which little bastard caused me to not be able to buy medicinal pills and to be ashamed in public. After watching the excitement, Bai Hu and Gu Lufeng continued to walk to Chang'e gambling house. On the way, Bai Hu couldn't help smiling next to Gu Lufeng and said, Brother Gu, your trick is really dirty. Ha! I didn't expect that, Brother Gu, you look gentle on the surface, but your heart is so black. Chapter 10-11, Debt Note. Gu Lufeng looked at him coldly for a moment, then he smiled, Oh, don't worry, I will remember to convey these compliments to Nan Gongyu. What? What does it have to do with Master? Bai Hu was taken aback for a moment, then he exclaimed, No way. Did the Master come up with these ideas? Gu Liufeng's eyes flashed slightly, and he chuckled, The rules were indeed made by Qingxia sect and I, but thanks to your family master's reminder that I can think of such a vicious plan. Even this list was already given to me by him. You tell me, who is the one who really has a black heart? Bai Hu took a breath, his face turned pale. My master is really, it's too hard to describe. He usually hates those dirty tricks. Now, in order to stand up for the princess, he even came up with such ideas. TSK, I must be more respectful to the princess in the future. Otherwise, I might be hated by master and be punished severely. The two talked and laughed for a while, and they soon came to the Chang'e gambling house. When Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu took out the proof of the bet, all the eyes of the entire Chang'e gambling house focused on them. Everyone's eyes were full of envy, jealousy and hatred. However, Gu Lufeng and Bai Hu's strength was self-evident, plus the sanctions imposed on several families by Xingde Hall, which had been rumored on the streets of Yangon City in the past few days. Among them, even the most domineering Li family and Ren family in Yangon City were blacklisted by Xingde Hall. Now their families were in serious trouble. Many martial artists who originally worked for the Li family and Ren family resigned after hearing the news. Otherwise, this implication of the blacklist even banned them from buying. Therefore, whether it was the Chang'e gambling house or the people in Yangon City who participated in the bet, although they had lost all their crystal stones to Bai Hu and they hate him, no one dared to say anything. When Bai Hu counted the crystal stone he won, he was so happy that his mouth couldn't even close. Gosh! Even the storage ring and storage bag for shipping crystal stones are folded like a hill. Haze, Gu Lufeng and I have to transport these storage rings back by bare hands. These are 2 whole sacks of storage devices, wouldn't we be exhausted to carry them back? Except for artifacts like Heshi's Void, other storage devices in Miluo continent couldn't be stored in stacks. In other words, storage rings cannot be placed in storage rings or storage bags that also have the void attribute. Most of the storage devices on the Miluo continent didn't have much space inside, and the crystal stone covered a very large area, so in the end, they were packed with 2 large sack bags of storage rings and storage bags. Bai Hu laughed and couldn't help complaining to Gu Lufeng unscrupulously. The onlookers really wanted to beat this guy who got so many crystal stones, but he still complained. However, when Bai Hu saw a piece of paper, he couldn't help but raised his eyebrows. What is this? The guy at the casino looked a little ugly. He whispered, This is the debt note written by Senior Li. Debt note? Bai Hu squinted and smiled. When is it possible to use debt note for betting at the gambling house? And, you actually took pay me with a debt note? Chapter 10-12, all crystal stones. The staff staggered with fright, took a few steps back, and said bitterly, "Senior, please don't be angry. But I'm helpless too. Your bet is too high. We have already paid you all the bets." But Senior Lee also placed a very high bet. "No, it is very high. Without his debt note, our gambling house will go bankrupt. We really have no way." Bai Hu sneered and said, "You have no way, then you want us to keep a blank paper." Before Bai Hu's words were finished, Gu Lufeng suddenly took the piece of paper from his hand. After taking a look, a deep smile appeared on his mouth. "Just let it be. Bai Hu, let's go." "N? What do you mean? We don't want all these crystal stones." "This amount of crystal stones is very large. Who said we don't want it?" Gu Lufeng turned around with his eyes flickering. The pair of eyes was indescribably charming. "Didn't you see the stamp of the Li family? We will of course look for the one who owes us crystal stones. What's the point of troubling a small gambling house? Don't you think so?" Bai Hu was taken aback for a moment, then his eyes lit up with an incredibly carefree and sinister smile on his face. The two carried the bags containing the storage devices, then they hurried to the city lord's mansion without stopping. In the Lanxiang courtyard, Heshi and Nangong Yu were playing chess. Heshi frowned tightly, and the white chess piece in her hand wasn't placed for a long time. Nangong Yu, however, had a leisurely look, drinking tea while watching and admiring Heshi's frowning look. Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon, Little Dumb Cow, and Shaoli were playing in the open space. Purple Abyss Vine was spinning in the air. Mo Xiaotu and Shinqingchua surrounded Shao Qi and taught him to speak in some simple movements. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Bai Hu and Gu Lufeng carried 2 sacks, stunning everyone in the house. Mo Xiaotu couldn't help but stupidly said, "Bai Hu, Lufeng, did you use the crystal stones you won to buy spiritual rice? Why did you buy so many? Is you going to cook a big meal today?" Bai Hu and Gu Lufeng looked curiously at the crowd in the room, and they couldn't help but laugh. Bai Hu said, 2 sacks of spiritual rice. Little rabbit, stop you kidding, okay? Even if you gather all the spiritual rice of the entire Miluo continent, they don't even worth the 2 sacks in our hands. With that said, in the amazed eyes of everyone, Bai Hu dropped the sack and poured out all the things inside. Gu Lufeng also did the same. For a while in the room, there were endless clanging sounds. The people in the room were stunned by the scene. Even Qing Long, who had always been calm, couldn't help but widen his eyes and exclaim, Are these all crystal stones? He. Are you scared?" Bai Hu smiled triumphantly. "This is all the best that princess won for us. TSK, when I first saw it, even my eyes almost fell out of fright." Little Egg rushed to the mountain with his short legs, pulled out a storage ring, and probed inside. Chapter 10:13, Clear the accounts. Soon, the crystal stone mountain hundreds of times larger than the pile of storage rings appeared in front of everyone. The shiny crystal stones exuded a strong spirit. With so many crystal stones piling up in the room, one could feel the spiritual power without using divine sense. The feeling was comfortable. Wow! There are so many crystal stones. Little Egg couldn't help but exclaim. He happily threw himself on the pile of crystal stones, then he picked up a second-grade crystal stone and gnawed at it. Seeing this, the other little guys followed suit and happily rushed to the pile of crystal stones and rolled in it. Little Golden Dragon even took out a pile of crystal stone mountain from the storage device pile, then he competed with Little Egg to eat the crystal stones faster. The little guys were divided into 2 teams at once. Little Egg teamed with Little Dumb Cow, Little Golden Dragon teamed with Purple Abyss Vine, and Shaoli was the judge. All of a sudden, there were sounds of gnawing the crystal stones and the happy laughter of the little ones. Bai Hu's mouth twitched. Although that master and princess always squander, although I also know that we won a lot of crystal stones this time, but no matter how many crystal stones, they shouldn't be squandered like this. Looking at the speed at which a few little guys gnawed the crystal stones and Princess' calm expression, they obviously gnawed a lot of her crystal stones. Alas, if I knew this, I would bet more. I should just mortgage several properties of the King of Hell Mansion in the Tiangang Kingdom first. Gu Lufeng was extremely calm. With Shi Yu's ability to refine medicinal pills, the amount of crystal stones she earns every day is beyond measure. So what if she wants to raise this group of foodies? My master has the ability and financial resources to support them, who can say anything? However, he still counted the crystal stones bet by Nan Gongyu, Qing Long, Bai Hu and Qing Wan at the first time, then he handed over the shares of the King of Hell Mansion to Nan Gongyu and others. After all, even brothers had to keep the accounts clear. Although Shi Yu was likely to marry Nan Gongyu, she must be on par with Nan Gongyu in terms of money and strength, let alone letting Shi Yu be looked down upon by King of Hell Mansion. Possible. Among all the crystal stones won, Nan Gongyu's share was definitely the most. Qing Long took 2 armfuls of crystal stones from Gu Liufeng's hands before finally accepting Nan Gongyu's winning bet. Compared to when Nan Gongyu took out the row of storage rings to bet, Qing Long's expression was all astounded all the time. It is great that master can marry princess. No, he hasn't married yet, and the princess has already earned so much for master, such a huge amount of crystal stones, the industry under King of Hell Mansion may not be able to earn them in 1 year. If he marries her back, how strong the King of Hell Mansion would be. Nan Gongyu was not polite. He smiled and took out the crystal stones from the storage rings and put them in his storage device. Nan Gongyu's storage device was a decorative object similar to a rivet, but it was completely different from the ordinary storage device. This storage rivet was called Black House. It looked unremarkable on the outside, but it could hold more than the items of a city inside. Even if he put a mansion inside, it would only occupy a fraction of the space. Chapter 10:14, Ask for support equals, of course, no matter how magical, Black House was, it was nothing more than a storage device. It was not the same as Heshi's void. It couldn't be planted, nor could it be put in living things, it could only store things. At this time, the little guys had eaten the crystal stone, each holding a bulging belly, laying on the ground and shouting, "So full! So full!" Little Egg looked up and saw that most of the storage rings were missing on the ground, then he looked at the hills in front of Nan Gongyu. He couldn't help but say, "Daddy, you are so rich. Even more money than Mom." As he said, he smiled and threw himself in front of Nan Gongyu, holding his feet, blinking his big eyes and saying, "Daddy, please support." Nan Gongyu smiled and flicked the storage rings on the table lightly. Soon, a dozen storage rings appeared in front of Little Egg. Nan Gongyu chuckled and said, "The support fee, remember to pack together with your mom and send it over." Little Egg was overjoyed when he saw the dozen or so storage rings. He didn't hear what Nan Gongyu said. After cheering, he threw the storage rings into the void. Then the calls of "Daddy" were even more affectionate. Heshi was speechless for a while. This little thing with no conscience, he is tempted by the enemy so easily. Why do I need this spiritual pet for? Bai Hu saw the dozen or so storage rings taken away by the little pink pig, and he felt so disheartening again. He wasn't reluctant to give them to Princess, but giving to these little guys was the same as being eaten away. This was such a waste. Suddenly, Bai Hu's eyes flashed, and he took out a debt note from his arms, and the pain on his face instantly turned into a sinister smile. "Hey, what does it matter if there are less than a dozen storage rings? There are still a lot of crystal stones in the Li family waiting for us to collect." Thinking of this, Bai Hu immediately waved to Little Golden Dragon, Little Egg and Xiao Li, then he took out the debt note and shook it in front of the little guys, whispering, "Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon, do you want more crystal stones?" Little Egg looked at the words written on it with shiny eyes. Little Golden Dragon sneered and said, "That's great, I was just worried that I haven't done enough for boss last time. This time, we will take them back with interest." Gu Lufeng also smiled gently and said, I don't know if the crystal stones of the Li family is enough to repay the debt note, but I heard that their family has a lot of precious magic weapons and medicinal pills accumulated over the years. I believe it will be enough to repay the debt. The few people and spiritual pets smiled at each other with their eyes flashing dim light. He looked at these guys whispering and smiling secretly, and she couldn't help shaking her head. In a blink of an eye, she saw Xiaoqi standing by her side with a confused face, watching them discussing. His eyes were full of curiosity and slight envy. She sighed lightly, touched Xiaoqi's soft hair, and said softly, Don't worry Xiaoqi, one day, you can live like them, think and cultivate like a normal person. Sister assures you. Xiaoqi heard Hexi's voice, felt her gentle touch, and didn't notice what she said. He no longer bothered the people in the room. He hugged Hexi's arm, rubbed her shoulder and said, Sister. Sister. I like sister the most. Hexi's heart was soft. As she was about to say something more, Xiaoqi's collar was suddenly pulled up. Chapter 10-15, Not brother-in-law yet. The clear purple eyes met the cold starry eyes of Nan Gongyu. Nan Gongyu sneered, I remember that I warned you, if you dare to throw yourself into Xi'er again. Before Nan Gongyu had finished speaking, Xiaoqi, who had always been quiet when facing Nan Gongyu, suddenly said, No, you are not, brother-in-law. Nan Gongyu's movements paused. He squinted slightly, and a dangerous aura exuded from him. Xiaoqi continued to say without fear of death, You're not, brother-in-law, not married, you can't control me, puff. Hexi sprayed a sip of tea on the chessboard, took the silk kerchief from Qing Wan and laughed as she wiped it off. Qing Wan was also holding back her laugh, and she quickly cleaned up the wet chessboard. Nan Gongyu's face was gloomy like water was going to drip out, but he still put down Xiaoqi in the end. Once Xiaoqi was free, he immediately ran back to Hexi and made a grimace at him with purple eyes shining brightly. The smile in Hexi's mind was suddenly replaced by a feeling of touch. After getting Divine Soul Jade, Xiaoqi had just absorbed the essence of Divine Soul Jade. Maybe it was obvious as he just absorbed it, but now she had seen that Xiaoqi had become smarter and more like a normal person. Her only brother in the past and this life, her brother who had suffered for her, she could finally do something for him. Xiaoqi felt Hexi's gentle gaze, and a bright smile appeared on his face. He crawled down, resting his head on Hexi's lap and whispering, Sister. I like sister the most. Hexi bowed her head and kissed the tip of his hair, and she said with a hoarse voice, Xiaoqi, sister also likes you, so, you must get better, understand? You're the only relative of sister in this world. Qing Long couldn't help but glance at his master's face. Although his face was ugly, Nan Gongyu didn't do anything else or say anything this time. However, his gaze looking at the Hexi was hot and affectionate as if it would burn at any time. Nan Gongyu, the only relative, huh? Then I will be Xi'er's only lover. The mansion of the Li family was located in the south of Yangon City. It had a strong spirit and a wide view. It was not far from the central street. It could be said to be the prime location in the entire Yangon City. At this time, it was just after noon, the sun was still scorching the earth. The guards at the entrance of the Li mansion were a little dispirited. In the past few days, the Li family was chaotic because of not being able to buy the best quality pill. Coupled with Li Jianyu's embarrassing speech and actions in front of the entire Yangon City people, it put shame on the entire Li family. Regarding this matter, the Li family held more than a dozen meetings. Each time the topic was whether to expel Li Jianyu from the Li family in order to calm the anger of Xingde Hall and Shiyu. However, in the end, it was still suppressed by Li Zongming, the current patriarch of the Li family and Li Jianyu's father. Moreover, Li Jianyu had the cultivation base of gold core stage at a young age, and he was also the elder of the Yunlan sect. Although he had been dismissed by the Yunlan sect, his identity and strength couldn't be underestimated. So now, the Li family was divided into two factions. One faction agreed to expel Li Zhenyu from the Li family in exchange for the right of purchasing the best quality pill for the other children of the Li family. The other faction thought that they should take the opportunity to let Li Zhenyu be the family master to let him please the Doctors' Association so that the Li family could form a connection with the Doctors' Association. Chapter 10:16, Debt Repayment. It wasn't until midnight last night that the elders of Li family finally made a decision. They decided to give up the best quality pill and instead please the Doctors' Association. After all, the Doctors' Association was so powerful. If they bootlicked the Doctors' Association, the benefits they could get were by no means comparable to just a few best quality pills. But no matter which decision, it is an inevitable fact that Li family's vitality had been severely injured and its status in Yangon City had plummeted. Therefore, the guards of Li family were somewhat dispirited. At this moment, a man's voice suddenly sounded in the ears of the guards. "Where is Li Zhenyu? Let him get out and pay the money." The guards were all startled. When they looked up, they saw two young and tall men standing in front of the gate. The guard of Li family was in a bad mood. Now seeing these two came to cause trouble to the Li family, they shouted furiously, "Who are you to cause trouble here? Can our young master's name be simply mentioned by you? Get lost, otherwise don't blame us for being rude." Before he finished speaking, his vision blurred, and he heard a bang. The whole person was thrown out like a cannonball and hit the door panel hard. In the pain of broken bones, the heavy door of the Li mansion was creaking under the huge impact. Then he collapsed to the ground. In midair, Little Dumb Cow, which had drummed into a big ball, returned to his original shape and fell to the ground with a bang. Little Egg immediately leaned forward, touching his ugly little head and complimenting him, "Little Cow, good job. When we return, I will let Mom cook for you." Little Dumb Cow was praised and caressed by Little Egg, and his whole body was shaking with excitement. He was making a silly laugh. But Little Egg had already returned to Little Golden Dragon and the others. The few little guys lined up and shouted loudly, "Pay the debt, Li Zhenyu. Get out and pay off the money you owe." At this moment, everyone in the Li family was shocked. The first one who came out was an old man who looked like he was in his early 50s. Seeing Bai Hu and the others walking in, his eyes widened as he shouted angrily, "Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in our Li family?" Bai Hu crossed his arms and sneered, "Where is Li Zhenyu? Let the turtle grandson me his grandpa." The old man said angrily, "You should report your name first and make it clear why are you looking for Zhenyu. If you dare to walk in bluntly, don't blame me for being rude." Bai Hu said leisurely, "I'm Bai Hu, the guard of Shiyu. I'm here to collect the debt from Li Zhenyu for my young master." Because of the sound just now, a lot of people have gathered outside Li family's door at this time, and they were poking their heads at the door to watch the excitement. Bai Hu was very satisfied with the current situation. He took out the debt note and showed it to the old man. "May I know who you are of the Li family? But no matter what your cultivation is, you should understand words, right? This is the debt note written by Li Zhenyu himself to Changle Gambling House. Now he has lost the bet, but Changle Gambling House gave us this piece of waste paper to our young master to repay the debt. If you are our young master, would you accept it?" The old man was startled first, then he glanced at the debt note intently. With just a glance, he took a deep breath. The number of crystal stones written on it almost made him faint. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.